everybody, welcome back to the Daily Dive. Today we're chatting with Gary Wagner from thegoldforecast.com. But before we get started, if you could like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, that would be awesome. Gary, welcome to the Dive.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to speak with your viewers as well as yourself.
So let's start with your take on the potential of a silver short squeeze. Who is largely short silver? And do you think the overall market is too big to actually short?
Well, that's an excellent question because the big news last week, of course, was the Reddit crowd out of Wall Street Bets shorting AMC or going long AMC as well as GameStop in attempts to do a short squeeze on some of the hedge funds. Silver is a completely different market with large institutional players. It's not going to be so easy. However, and this is what I spoke about on our weekend review, is that unlike GameStop and AMC, silver fundamentally, I believe, is ripe to move to higher ground. We've been positioned from the long side, our clients in SLV. We got in, I think, at 22.95. We're currently at about 26.76. And we added to those positions again on Friday. I think that we're looking at a different type of scenario in which the idea of doing a short squeeze by members of this Reddit forum is going to be more like they're going to ride the trend. There was also some talk on CNBC this morning because I looked through the forum over the weekend and there were a lot of negative comments about, no, we want to go long GameStop, don't do the silver, that it was actually large professional traders coming in and posting on that forum. And so they felt it wasn't genuine. I think the fundamentals are right for silver to move higher. Whether it is a short squeeze, I think it's going to be more interest based on the fundamentals underlying it. And that is that the Federal Reserve here has a extremely accommodative monetary policy. We've got interest rates near zero, and we're doing a lot of fiscal stimulus. That's going to increase our national debt. And when we increase our national debt, that of course can take the dollar lower and take both gold and silver higher. So I think silver is destined to move above $30 over the next couple of weeks.
Obviously, we have to ask, how do you think a silver short squeeze affects the price of gold?
Oh, it's interesting. And another excellent question, because typically gold is the leader and silver kind of follows in tandem. Now, even when it follows in tandem, it tends to outproduce gold when those markets run up, and it tends to sustain greater drawdowns during times of correction. So I think that gold right now has been lagging behind, well, over the last, say, 4 trading days, that of silver. So I think that there's still a correlation, but right now we do have silver kind of leading the trail, which is very unusual for those metals traders. They're very aware of that. The excitement right now is in silver. I think one of the primary reasons that we're seeing that also is that when gold ran to an all-time new record high in August of last year at $2,088, silver hit $30. So it was $20 shy of its record high. So I think that there's more pent-up potential in silver versus gold.
Do you think a new U.S. stimulus package is already baked into the market?
I think partially. The thing about it is I don't believe it's fully baked in because there's some questions as to whether or not it will be passed with the amount that our new President Biden has asked for, which is 1.9 trillion, whether they'll skinny it down. It didn't get pushed through, but there are votes coming in. And it is for that reason, I do not think it's been fully baked into the market.
Why do you think gold hasn't increased further with all the stimulus?
That's an interesting question. I think that right now we've seen gold come off of those highs in August. It retraced, it hit a low of about 1750, and now it's about $100 off of those lows. So we have seen it react, but it's reacted slower than silver has recently. I think that I'm extremely bullish overall on both gold and silver because the fundamentals are right. And I think that the economic fallout from the pandemic itself hasn't even begun. And that's when we'll see a major move. I am still looking for silver to test the all-time highs this year, whether it's the second quarter, maybe the third quarter, or sooner. I think this year we will have a new all-time high in gold.
What are your thoughts on miners?
Oh, miners are, it's a different scenario in that obviously the price affects their bottom line, but each mine runs a little different. What is their production cost? How are they set up? How much dirt are they pulling out of the ground and what are they yielding? And so that's a specialty that I can give you an overall sense or feel for, but not tell you this is the mining stock to look at or this is the mining stock to look at. I think overall they're going to do well this year, but which ones will outperform, I don't have that specialized knowledge to be able to give you an answer I'm comfortable with.
What are some of the key metrics you are watching to evaluate the momentum in the price of precious metals?
It's got to be right now Fed action. We just had our first FOMC meeting, which was held last week. They vowed to keep interest rates near zero. They vowed to continue to be accommodative. We've already spent $4 trillion on stimulus. And so the metrics I'm watching is how quickly people get vaccinated and whether or not they can actually put a halt to the pandemic, because the numbers are going down. So we've genuinely seen a change from what has been a pandemic absolutely out of control. They're not vaccinating quick enough. So we've got that push and pull. That's a big metrics that I'm watching, because the more the government spends in fiscal stimulus, the longer people remain unemployed, the longer it takes to have our economy rebound. That's the metric I think that's going to be most important to the price of gold and silver.
What do you view as the key price levels for gold?
Well, in terms of the price levels for gold, we want to see it break above 1900. Obviously, we went back below, and what are we sitting at in the 1800s, 1860, 1870? So 1900 is a big number, and 1920 is a big number because that was the former all-time record high. Those are the key resistance areas I believe that we're seeing.
You're in Hawaii. How has COVID impacted your community?
In an interesting way. On one hand, we're extremely blessed because we're basically in the middle of nowhere where we've been isolated. So even during our worst periods of actual case counts, they were in the hundreds, not in the thousands, not in the tens of thousands. We have had deaths here, but I think the total deaths about 300 plus people. Where it has impacted Hawaii the most is tourism and the business base that depends on people flying in to enjoy a holiday here. That trickled to nothing and is now starting to kind of ramp back up. So it affected our economy more than the individual health, but nonetheless, it's changed all of our lifestyles. We put ourselves in basically quarantine, and we're practicing social distancing and wearing masks, but at the same time, it's not like the pre-pandemic era.
So Gary, if our audience wants to sign up for your newsletter, where do they go to subscribe?
Sure, thegoldforecast.com, it's one word, and we have a premium membership that's available, but we have a free newsletter also that's available, and with that, you'll get our daily comments and opening letter.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us on The Dive today, Gary.
My pleasure to be here.
And for our viewers at home, don't forget to click that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you next time on The Dive to talk all things small caps.